Welcome.
The Wee Talks.
This is a podcast where I'll ask a few questions, related to what's going on with the Wii,
Yes.
and you'll report
I'll report on the Wee.
on
This
what
is
they
Inelia
think.
Benz. And you can find the articles, the long articles that we base this podcast on blog.theweetalks.com.
Right. And if you listen to our other podcasts, Drive It to the Res, you can find a link to this We Talks blog
It's
on
recommended.
our Inelia Benz Substack.
Yeah.
So if you type in Inelia Benz Substack, you'll find it on the right side. So you can find the article. This episode is going to be on the early years, and I guess I would say the early years are maybe the toddler to 5, 10, something.
Yeah, I'd say
Toddler
so.
to 10.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm wondering about raising a wee child. How do you raise a wee baby? So here's the thing, right? Why did you pick the parents you picked to be the ones to raise a wee baby?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, the parents were not that important. It was more like their genetic material that was important. That was more conducive to hosting the parameters of a weasel construct.
Say it. So the parents didn't matter, but they did.
In a genetic way.
The parents only mattered genetically.
More. I mean, a little bit. I mean, they had possibilities. They had potential. But it was more like the genetic makeup that was more important.
So the genetics were a make or break, and then the other things were optional. So
yes.
The need to have the genetics, but then the skills to raise a wee baby, a little less on the totem pole.
Very much less, yeah.
Very much less.
Yeah, because it wasn't known what was necessary or what would have been helpful or useful because there was no previous experience of it.
Okay. Well, yeah, I suppose that in a sense is
any parent would qualify.
First incarnation.
Yes.
based on the Wii's observations of what would you call it? Human TV.
Yes.
Right? Any parents will do.
Yes.
And I suppose that's partly in reference to their nonsense of judgment around light and dark and suffering and torture and whatever, everything else.
Exactly.
All the good and bad things, they were all just variations of some form of frequency, which was, I guess, something like, and I suppose it's a reflection of why some people find familiarity with your story, and even though some are like, what the, don't.
Yes.
Because to some degree, they also incarnated it into a place that they thought they could handle, and it doesn't turn out necessarily that easy.
Well, it wasn't so much they can handle in my case. It was, it'll do. This is very compatible at a genetic level. It'll probably survive. And yeah, more like that. It's not nowhere near what am I getting into. I mean, I think more like a light worker thing that they got into the deepest, darkest things without
but I think
that's
the lever they can use to make it relatable to somebody.
Yes.
It's like they weren't really.
Your dog's barking.
Oh, that one is your dog. Yeah.
Not scared about that. Come on, baby.
Depends on the day, honey.
Depends on the day.
And what she needs. If she needs to go for a walk in the morning, then she's my dog. If she needs cuddles, then she's your dog.
Maybe I'll leave her inside.
It's all right. She has to go to work, honey. So back to the talk. What kind of things make it tough to raise a wee baby?
I've never raised a wee baby, so I couldn't really tell you.
Well, you experienced it. Some of the things like eating out, taking your baby out to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that with a wee baby.
Why not?
Because when they ingest the food, they get all the frequencies and vibrations of all of the food of all of the people who touched it all the way back to its beginnings, and it's overwhelming, and the wee baby starts filling her eyes up with tears and cries so that she doesn't get punished for not eating that horrible food. For example.
I think you think as a father, as a parent, really, really well. You see a completely sort of full picture. And a full picture here.
Right. So that's one of the things.
If my parents had received a manual with their wee baby.
How to raise a wee baby.
Yes, how to raise a wee baby manual. I think the first thing would have been to become aware that that baby was going to remember everything, understood what was going on, kind of, what was being said, and go from that perspective. And also not to lock it up in a room for most of the day, you know? It's like, I think that's a bad idea if you have a wee baby.
I think the wee baby manual, I mean, I think you might need to write it, you know?
The wee baby manual.
Because most of the things, well, there are some things that are relatable and some things that are like pretty not relatable. The things that are relatable is like oftentimes we'll find in our regular babies, children, toddlers to 10, they will only eat plain things or one thing, or just like a hamburger is just bread, meat, bread. No cheese, no ketchup, no mustard, no pickles, no onions, no lettuce,
No
nothing.
mayonnaise.
No mayonnaise, just
Nothing.
plain blah, blah, right? Very, very plain foods are very unfettered, I guess.
Well, that's from a
Or very
cultural
simpler
perspective,
things.
right? That's
Not from a cultural perspective, but I think we may like think of them as like you need to eat your vegetables and what they're doing is wrong, when in some way maybe what they're doing is experiencing food like you were, right? In the sense that they're connected to too many jumbled things and a bunch of things in the food, but they don't have the words to describe or explain it, or maybe the self-imposed limitations don't bring the words in.
Yeah.
So it's like, how relatable is that? Oftentimes children won't eat things, right? You can stuff it in their mouth and they'll spit it out, and you can punish them and they still ain't going to eat it. But I mean, your remembering of it is more specific as to why than most of us would. We're just like, I just never liked the taste of liver or fat or meat or mushrooms or vegetables, or its textures or what's going on.
Yes.
I mean, I'm talking a lot about food because, I mean, we eat a lot.
We do.
Every day, multiple times a day.
I know, that's crazy. I've never understood why you have to eat so much every single day. Makes no sense to me at all.
It's peculiar to us.
Yeah.
Because there are plenty of places on the planet where they don't. But some of them don't eat anything for weeks and they don't feel very good either.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what the physical body
actually requires versus what we give it.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, well.
What do you feed a wee baby?
What?
Yeah, one of the things I would put in the manual is beware of your thoughts when you're cooking the food for your baby. Because anything, all the thoughts and frequencies and vibrations you put in the food is going to affect that baby more than usual people, like an adult, whatever.
Right.
And I think that's true for even anybody. When I cook, I'm always very careful about my thoughts. And I always put myself into a really good space before I cook. And then that food is delicious and we don't know why. Right?
It has the right sauce. It's the right amount of salt.
Yeah.
The pepper you put with just the right amount of pepper. But it really isn't those things.
No, it's not those things.
It's the intangible that we have limited ourselves in our frequency of experience to name.
Yeah.
But when we found it, we know it's true, but we can't measure it. We don't have that measure.
Yeah.
How much love did you add in that pile of hamburger when you're going to make a burger? Whatever. I mean,
remember when
it lines all the way back to the cow too, and the cow's life, and oh my gosh, just touching on the whole topic. It's like when you enter into, what do you feed a wee baby? And then you see the things a wee baby's sensitive to. Like, what are wee babies sensitive to?
Frequencies.
Right. What do you mean that? That's just a word. What do you mean?
So I would say that our emotional body is a very big frequency emitter and receptor. And the wee baby doesn't have any filters on that, I don't think.
Like the self-imposed limitations most of us are born into.
Yeah.
Where we limit our experience. Maybe we don't like it, we cry, but we don't know why. Or that food tastes yucky, but we don't know why.
Right.
So when you say a wee baby is sensitive to frequencies, and it can get confusing. It can get confusing because there's the words we use are high and low frequency, and we use light and dark, and we use power over others, service to self, service to others, these kind of words.
Service to all.
Service to of all. We use judgment around. It's like low frequency isn't bad, but it isn't compatible.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we just call it bad?
Yeah, you can call it bad.
Okay. High frequency isn't good, but it doesn't make you feel nauseated. So can't we just call it good?
Yeah.
Where's judgment come in there?
Discernment, I'd say, rather than judgment. I would go for discernment.
So the wee baby is sensitive. The words you use were allergic to low frequency.
Yes.
What happened if you are
allergic to low frequencies?
Yeah. What happens? I mean, what do you mean? So low frequencies in your food. We'll just say the food.
Usually, I wouldn't eat it, because it would make me feel very sick. But apart from the frequency, there was also an aspect of alive, the life force within the food. Most of the food that I was presented with was dead. There was no life force in it. So I would pick and choose to see what bits had the most life force and take those. And yeah, that was a big part of it.
Well, you see, what makes it tough to raise a wee baby? One of the things, I mean, you've said like 6 things to how are we going to make food. Not only is it not only do you have to have high frequency thoughts while you're making it, whatever it's from has to have had high frequency thoughts while it was being made or raised or born or slaughtered or whatever. If it's a cow.
Yeah, that might work, yeah.
Plus, it has to be alive. It can't be processed or I don't know what are the other things that affect it.
Yeah.
So essentially this one is great and this one, no, not touching it.
Not touching it.
But there's a lot of things in the not touching it pile.
Yes.
So, well, mostly we don't have any control over or even knowledge of or even a way to figure out until we're like, here you go, honey. And you say,
nope.
So that's one of the things that makes it tough to raise a wee baby.
Yes.
Not to mention, if you give a wee baby, I don't know, we're allowed to talk about those things. Let's just say you generate food allergies with this injection process. And then as a consequence, the wee baby is even more sensitive to things.
Yes.
Like bell peppers for you. So do you think having knowledge of it is like, you said your mom put bell peppers in everything.
Yes, she did.
Is it normal and traditional in Chilean cooking to fill it with bell peppers?
I have no idea. I don't know what Chilean cuisine is like.
Is that where you were raised as a wee baby?
Yeah, but then I learned that spaghetti isn't a Chilean meal. So, I don't know what it is, I don't think, if I think about traditional Chilean meals would be humitas, pastel de choclo, empanadas. None of those have bell peppers now. They don't have bell peppers.
So the wee baby may have chosen to be incarnated there, to start with, so they wouldn't be exposed to these bell peppers?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't think it was that relevant.
It's relevant if you're being poisoned every day on every meal. So, see, that's the part that makes it a little confusing for those of us who pulled on the strings for a while. It's like you have
Here's the thing. Do you remember not as a baby, but as me, as an adult person, when we used to go to restaurants or eat out, or even when you bought something in, like ingredients or a can of something, I would say to you, check for bell peppers, right?
Yeah.
And in the restaurants, I would say to you, I need to check and double check that it hasn't got any bell peppers. And you said, but we told the waiter that not to put bell peppers in, and they made a note of it. I says, yeah, we still have to check. Do you remember why those bell peppers came into the food?
Well, even if they're not a part of the ingredient list and you've asked for them not to have bell peppers on it, they'll still be garnished with bell peppers on top or mixed in or all over the knife or a number of things.
Do you remember why?
One of the problems with raising a wee baby is people who engage with a wee baby either want to kill it or hug it.
Yes, exactly.
They don't really have moderate intentions around it.
Correct. Yes.
Why? I mean, that's just like one of the other things that makes it kind of tough to raise a wee baby. It's because even your siblings have that reaction of, how about we just kill that thing, get rid of it?
Yes, exactly.
Did any of them say, we love it, we want to keep it?
No, I don't think so.
So the next time the wee
I think
baby...
a couple of my aunties did. Yeah, a couple of my aunties were really fond of me. I wanted to keep me.
So, in retrospect, it might be wise if you're going to pick your parents to add some things onto the list besides just genetics, would you say?
Yeah, but what? Right?
Well...
Maybe awakened? Yeah. Maybe somebody who's awake and aware, and maybe psychic, yes. Somebody who's not afraid of experiential telepathy. There you go. That would be a good one. Someone who doesn't drink alcohol at all. That would be also a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about love you?
Oh, yeah, right.
Start with the one that's most important. I mean, wants to kill, wants to hug. Which one are you going to pick?
The thing is that love is just a frequency to the we, right? And for for life and whatever, it's a very pleasant frequency. And for most of the human bodies on Earth, it's the base frequency of what they're made of. And what they express, what they, give out. And they are made of it. So it's really difficult to understand how that's not going to be present. Or how do you ensure that the person or the people who bring you into the world are not going to react negatively towards your frequency because it's so different to everything else?
I suppose, a few thousand years worth of watching human TV should probably give you a thread to pull on. Like, how are you going to figure it out? I would assume, in the experiences palette of the choice point, it's like these ones, look at the experience palette that comes with it. And if there's a bunch of pokes with needles and slices and suffocations, those kind of things, those will be a clue. Don't do that one.
Well, there's also the aspect of the genetics, very rare, right? But also the fact that we weren't going to just push another soul out of its body. So it needed to be a baby that was going to die. Right?
Yeah.
In uterus.
I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
But
there's no judgment behind it. That's the thing, right? There wasn't any judgment behind how that baby was going to die.
Or when. Or what. See, these are the complications to make it.
The most important relationship.
Tough to even have a wee baby is you got to be born with the right genes.
Yeah, so the most important part of that equation was whether the baby body wanted to join with the wee soul. That was the most important. Who was carrying it, what they were doing to it, all the things were less important.
Right, but the willingness part, clearly you can trick willingness out of a lot of people. People are tricked into being willing to do things that they normally wouldn't do all the time. And if I remember correctly, you used a little string trick to pull on the babies to allow you to, incarnate.
Mm-hmm.
The duty
The
one,
duty,
right?
yeah, the duty card.
It's not exactly a low frequency manipulation, but it is
A
a
manipulation.
manipulation. And it's to, I'm assuming, the benefit of both the body and the we.
Yeah.
It's not like a parasitic
No.
type of experience,
Mm.
right? So, as we examine the list of what makes it tough to raise a wee baby, we start to see there's a lot of things, like even getting a wee baby body
That's very tough.
is tough.
Yeah.
And getting a wee baby that's willing, tough.
Yeah.
And then when you get the wee baby, the mommy who's carrying it is then the next consideration. And apparently it doesn't matter too much.
No, because
so long that they are women and have baby.
Yes. And the genetic material has to be compatible, right?
Well, the baby is the one that has the genetic material that's compatible. I guess it comes from the
mother,
mom.
right? And the dad. So
Tough things
mm-hmm.
to find. And so are you saying that you couldn't find one that was compatible and also, filled with nice experiences? Because your childhood was not nice. It was extremely tough.
The
experiences
terrible, actually. Were not taken into consideration.
Why?
They were just experiences. It's not judgment on the experiences.
Well, we just gave them good and bad. That's called judgment.
Nowadays, we could have more judgment on it, having had experiences.
Okay.
And it's like, how do you pre-warn a couple that they're going to be terrified of their baby when it's born?
Well, I guess
against it.
Yeah, I guess it matters how we go about picking our parents from that in-between birthplace, right?
Yes.
Most of us,
you have that,
who are souls,
have the in-between place.
Have in-between life that we hang out before we incarnate, right?
Exactly.
And in that in-between place, we can use all kinds of measurement sticks to decide on who and how and what way we're going to incarnate, the limitations we're going to give ourselves, et cetera,
yes.
ad infinitum. And so you're saying, as a wee baby, you didn't really have that in-between incarnational space.
No, we didn't.
You only had
an agreement of a body that was going to die.
Body that was going to die, which, in retrospect, is probably a lot of those babies that are willing to die in babyhood, right?
Oh yeah.
But not many that are compatible.
Right.
And of the ones that were compatible, didn't leave. There weren't very many.
No.
Handful like 5, handful like 5,000.
On this this part of the
this
Earth,
here now, yeah, I guess.
In this part of the Earth, compatible bodies, more like 3 couples, maybe.
So I can only imagine the other 2 were even worse.
Probably.
Were the
yeah, I think the others, if I remember correctly, the others at a cultural level were not compatible. You know? It's like, for example, sorry, what?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe one was in a country where the women aren't allowed out of the house, kind of a thing.
It was, yes.
And so to become a public, to do any of the public things that we are doing would be impossible.
Impossible. Even,
or so improbably difficult.
Yes. And even growing up there was a very small chance of survival, even with the Wiz.
Guarantee of survival.
Yes.
It's because, yeah.
Even less. I mean, probably not going to happen.
Because, yeah.
Because of the whole thing, the energy that was brought in, right?
Probably programs that you might acquire. Because it seems like we can acquire some programs, like the aging one, or the sickness one, or the injury one, or the...
Oh, it definitely can.
Right.
You definitely can acquire programs, yeah.
Right.
And the other one was too far away from everything. One of the things that we considered was the academic background of the parents and their broad exposure to people like philosophers and academics and thinkers.
Okay, so yeah, that can bring I can bring some clarity to some people who have experienced like tough childhoods, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you didn't necessarily pick those tough childhood things because, yay, that's on my list. I need to, what, evolve or learn how to be nice by getting tortured. You know, those weren't those actually on your list. Maybe what was on your list was things that you're not even conscious of in the life, like your genetics, like your lineage, like your parents' intellect and the intellect they raised you in, like the limitations of the society you were born at. This kind of things more so than, you know, yeah, every birthday you get 32 presents, and the next one you get 34, and the next one you get 35, and every birthday afterward you get more, and they love you and hug you.
Mm-hmm.
But not necessarily that was the most important, like, measuring stick.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, because I think people place a lot of importance on those bad, also known as low frequency, dark experiences. They place like those are hugely needing explaining away, right?
Yeah, it was irrelevant for, for the week. Just experiences, let's make sure we survive.
Survive them, but don't give them a huge amount of importance.
They're not important, they're just experiences.
The
If you think
important
at a
things.
universal level, a human life that spans, let's say, 70 or 80 years, and 10 of those, or like maybe 18 of those, are spent with abusive parents. It's like a blink in the universal scale of things, of billions and quadrillions, or immeasurable amount of time, linear time. Those 18 years are like nothing. They're nothing. They're irrelevant. They're like a bleep that is gone before you can even think about it. So from that perspective, it's really quite irrelevant.
But it's so totally the opposite of everything that we are trained and learned and feel. Like the most important thing is what kind of parent you are, right? And your children's welfare and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, obviously not all of us. Some of us are like, we don't have, I guess, that same regard for our own children. Although it seems to be one of those biological things you thought had, but I guess it's not. We relate everything based on our own, ideas.
But bringing up my own children, because I had no concept of what a good parent was, I read a ton of books, and I went to classes, parenting classes, and I educated myself on how to be a good parent and give my children the best of everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And learning from the older generation, if the baby cries, let them cry to sleep, to
well,
if the baby
makes
cries,
their lungs strong, honey.
If the baby cries, you pick it up and you test the things, right?
Oh.
Does it need a hug? Does it need attention? Does it need a diaper change? Does it need nursing? Or does it have gas, burping?
It almost always needs a ride in a car.
So you test those things to see which one it needs, right?
Yeah.
And I learned that from a class, I didn't know about that. I didn't see that growing up, or it didn't happen to me, that's for sure.
I think it must be an experience of the ages, because as we look at ages, different ages, children have different values, right?
Yeah.
And even depending on the sex of the child, whether they had any value or what they were valuable for.
Exactly, yeah.
In location, in geography, and in time.
Yeah.
All these things. So
all the things.
When we look at our own, like how important these first 18 years are of your child, some place enormous importance on it, and others place so much less than zero importance on it.
Yes.
All of the options are open. If we measure based on outcome, does it matter? I mean, outcome as in you want to have a effective wee baby, effective at her job, whatever her job might be.
So what was the job for the wee? They wanted to experience singularity. You don't have to do anything.
You can feed the baby or not feed the. Well, you have to give it some food or else it dies, right?
I didn't. I can't get anything.
So you don't have to feed a wee baby. You have to be open to being manipulated by what water filled eyes and a big
The puppy eyes.
the puppy eyes and the lips
Curly lips.
and crying a lot.
There you go.
Just whenever the wee baby does that, do whatever or stop whatever you're doing.
That's what happens. So yeah, there you go.
So it's really not that tough to raise a wee baby.
No,
You don't have to feed it unless you feel like it.
exactly.
So when your mom brought the wee baby to the doctor, because that damn wee baby wouldn't eat nothing,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was like peppered with bell peppers.
Right.
What did the doctor say?
The doctor said a couple of things. One of them was to give me daily injections,
Like shots?
like, shots of vitamins and minerals and all the things that our body could need.
Because all the bodies need shots in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need shots full of stuff every
Yes,
day.
every day.
Literally,
And
all
it hurt
bodies.
like
really need
crazy.
that.
It hurt like crazy. Those shots hurt like crazy.
How many wee babies need shots of that?
I don't know. But I remember my sister used to laugh about it, because I used to cry so much. And
Didn't work to stop those.
She used to laugh and she used to make fun of me and tease me that we were going to get the shots done. So my mom sent her to get me to the nurse's house to put the shots in. Took her. She had to take me. Right? She took me once, and after that she was
Traumatized or what?
she was so traumatized she would hide me when it was shot time. So that's one thing the doctor said. And the other one was, okay, so your daughter's not going to eat very much, but she will eat a spoonful. So you have to make sure that that one spoonful that she eats has everything in it that she can possibly need in her body. So she started, I think she got like lamb's brains or something, and I don't know what other foods stuff, and she would mix it all up and put flavors in it and whatnot, and she had me one spoon a day of food. And then we went on holiday, and my brother and sister and I started playing on the beach. And in Chile, there's a shellfish called machas. And we were up in the north of Chile, in the desert, hot desert. And in the beach, you would twist your foot, and the machas would come out of the sand. So my brother and sister and I got a whole bunch of them, and we were going to eat them. And then one of them got a knife or something and opened one, and it was wriggling inside the shell. And they both went, ew, and they threw it away. They didn't want it, right? And then I looked at it and it was moving. So I rinsed it and I ate it. It wriggled inside my mouth. I go, it's alive. It's full of life force, right? So that's all I would eat. Live food, literally live food. And with a bit of lemon juice, seawater, and those matcha things. And my mom figured that out. And I remember my grandma would say, why don't you just give her an egg? Eggs have everything in it. But she will be sick after eating the eggs. She said, that's because she's allergic to all eggs. You have to give her the day's eggs. She can only eat the egg from that day that's fully alive, that one. But how am I going to get any? So my grandma gave her
a chicken,
about 3 hens to take back to the city. And there'll be an egg every day, and my mom would cook it and I would eat that egg. And I wouldn't get sick.
Just so you understand now why we have all these chicken noises. Because wee babies grow up into wee women who also need the egg from the day.
No rubbish in it.
We have a spiral thing, and all the eggs go on the spiral. So the new eggs are the tippity top. Most people use the eggs from the bottom first, so that
yesterday's eggs are from the bottom.
The oldest eggs go away first, so you don't end up with really old eggs. But we go for the top down. The newest eggs first. Thank you for the spiral. The egg spiral, yeah. So wee babies are a little bit tough to raise, but apparently, once you get some of the clues, like a spoonful full of food that has everything in it. Did she learn that she needed to have good thoughts while she was making it too?
No, she didn't. So I couldn't really explain that, often I would also, as I got a little bit older, like let's say 3 years old, I would grab a chair and I would stand next to her as she was cooking, right? And as she was chopping stuff and cooking, and I would grab the stuff and eat it, right? Including the raw meat.
Naturally.
It was quite gross. If you think, I mean, for most culturally, sensitive people,
Yes.
and even for my mom, she would scream when she saw me grabbing a piece of meat and putting it in my mouth and eating it. She screamed. It's like for her, she used to cook the food like until it was like a piece of leather, like the meat. And for her, it's like not just most disgusting thing on the planet, but it's also probably full of nasty stuff that would kill me, like worms or whatnot. So yeah, she screamed and I said, but I like it. And she said, okay, tell you what, she said. And then when I'm going to cook it and when the blood comes out of the top, you can eat that. So it's okay. So I'd sit by the stove and she put the meat there to cook the steak. The meat would come up. The blood would come up to the top of the steak. And for her, that was cooked. You see, that was the juice that was cooked.
So there's no bad things in it now.
No bad things in it now.
Okay.
And I would just with a spoon, and that would be my dinner. So it was really tough. It was very tough. My sister discovered that I don't even think it was a thing anywhere, but if she put fruit in a like a mixer, what is it called? A blender. Yeah, the fruit's in a blender, and she put milk in it. That I would actually drink milk, right? Because otherwise I wouldn't drink it. It was disgusting and it was old and it's nasty. So, but here's the trick. The milk would take about a minute to curdle because it had fruit in it and fruit had acid stuff in it, right? So it was a race. She would start the blender, the milk would be turning, she put the sugar in. Oh yeah, she had a sugar too. And then she poured the fruit in, and as soon as it was blended, the three of us, because I had another sibling also, we would glug, 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 and by the time you ended up to the end of the glass, it was already curdling, so you couldn't finish it. At least I couldn't. I wasn't fast enough. And I would drink that, okay.
So none of these rules apply to spaghetti bolognese, however.
No.
That one you just have to eat
Yes.
fast before you feel
Full.
sick.
Yes.
You have to feel it. Yeah.
Yes.
Because-
All foods. So all foods. As I got a little bit older, I learned to eat, and I knew that I needed to eat, so I started eating. But as soon as I would eat, say a minute into my plate of food, I would start feeling nauseous, right? So the trick was in that minute, I had to eat as much as I could, so that when I started feeling nauseous, it was fine. I ate.
You already had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the trick there. Yeah, I learned that later on, about year 10 or something like that,
Yeah, so if you could have explained to the wee baby, I know it's going to make you feel sick, but eat it really fast, honey.
Yes.
Maybe it could have helped.
Yes, it would help a lot.
Or you could put something in that wiggles.
Yeah.
It's like there's live stuff in there, honey. Eat it. So clearly, people, when you listen to this, oftentimes people will say, well, if that's how the wee baby or Inelia needs to eat, that's probably the right way to eat. We should be affirming. We've just affirmed my own choices in eating. That's the right way.
Raw food.
Raw, wiggly stuff.
Yeah.
Eat that.
Yeah.
And milk with fruit before it curdles. There you go. Eat that.
Yes.
No. These are not necessarily interchangeable. But there's data there, right? So some of the data, because what we're talking about is what makes it tough for a wee baby versus a human being.
Yeah, so my grandmother, my dad's mother, she looked after me between the ages of 7 and 9 or something like that. And because my parents were imprisoned in concentration camps in Chile and being tortured and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you already got the genetics. You already had the genetics,
yeah.
though.
So my grandma, I would eat her food.
Mm-hmm.
Her food I would eat. That's when I learned to eat. So, and it didn't make me sick. First of all, she didn't use bell peppers, but also she didn't use any spices. She just used salt and pepper. And she was conscientious of her energy when she was cooking. She actually loved cooking.
She probably didn't want to kill you either.
No, she didn't. She did love me. Yeah, she did.
There you go. We've managed to unlock the secret.
Yes.
If you want to have food that's good for you,
Yeah,
life
gotta
force
love
energy
me.
is okay, great, plus love.
There you go.
Those are 2 ingredients.
Da-da-da-da.
And not a lot of spices, I guess, salt and pepper.
Right. Yeah, not a lot of spices.
Okay. So there is something that's relatable.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking we were going to have a really strange diet if we do that. And it doesn't go on the list of best practices for humans to eat.
No.
Is like stuff your food in really fast right before it makes you get sick.
So until very recently, I didn't know there was a difference between nausea and hunger.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was the same feeling in the body. I had to learn that, and I learned that as an adult, the difference between the two.
I believe it because remember when I met you, first time I met you, you were like maybe 40 pounds.
No, 79 pounds.
Nothing. You were a wisp of wind would blow you away. Like, oh my gosh, this lady needs to eat.
Yes.
So yeah, we've resolved though how to raise a wee baby into a wee woman and eat.
Yeah.
And the love and salt and pepper and right, we cook our steaks slightly more than the French.
Slightly more, yes.
Yeah, the French are blue.
Yeah.
And you're not a fan of the blue.
No.
But I mean, probably an ultimate steak, maybe.
I mean, I don't like it cold. It needs to be warm, you know.
Right. Well, not to put it delicately, one just sliced off. I don't know. You can say that delicately. Quite warm, not yet cold.
Yes.
That might be like, okay. Oh dear. I hope we haven't, upset too many, but that's the deal with a wee. Yes. A wee baby's not easy to raise. It's just the truth.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Let's move on a little bit to some of the higher minded topics.
Okay.
If that's okay. Okie dokie. I think I want to start. I made some notes from the article itself. That was one of the things we started with, was that you didn't expect your story, the Wee's story, really to be very relatable.
No, not. Yeah.
And you were surprised.
Yeah.
That some people did.
Yeah.
So what's your experience with that?
Yeah, it's been very the curiosity around that has been quite intense, because from experiencing growing up and seeing other people growing up and coming into themselves, becoming themselves or being themselves right from the get-go. I didn't think that my experience of the we experience and then the me experience would be relatable at all. And then when people started writing back, commenting on the Inelia, the We Talks Substack, the blog.thewetalks.com, they started, you can comment under the articles, right? And then also messages on the newsletter, and the social media and stuff, how relatable, how that just described their life.
Right,
growing
their own
up.
Experiences. I've noticed that too.
Yeah. And when I looked into it, I noticed that it was probably people who came from, or was their first life, right?
Yeah.
As a human being. And their souls was the first life as a human being. Like guaranteed. But also I think it was from the perspective of their previous lives had been spent in more subtle realms where maybe you didn't need to eat. Yeah. And just to be fair, here in my 40s, I did find a way to live without eating, which was through I did a whole year of sun gazing, from the very beginning of just a few seconds, sunset or dawn, all the way to a full hour. And it has to be in those times because otherwise you're going to hurt your eyes. And at one point, like 6 months in, I saw that I knew that if I didn't want to eat, I didn't have to anymore. And when I looked at it from that perspective of not having to eat anymore, I noticed that a lot of the connection that I had, I didn't feel very connected to the earth or people, but even that bit of connection was related to food, or food had a big impact on that connection. Yeah. So food, living in a city, is grown and brought and handled and packaged by people. You cook it and you sit with your family and eat it together, right? So there's a whole process there. And it's not the same. There's a little bit of disconnect when you cook the meal and then you sit down and everybody eats and you don't. There's a disconnect. And people feel it, you know, they make comments. So
Yeah.
so that wouldn't work. And then I thought, plus I really like strawberries and chocolate, right? So strawberries and chocolates are really nice in this reality. So then I decided, no, I'll pass. I'll continue eating. But yeah, the amount of food did go down quite dramatically. So it was after that you met me. And I have to say, the weight was irrelevant. I was always that weight. I never was able to put weight on until we got together and you made me put weight on.
Yes.
But yeah, before that, yeah, I was always skinny.
Sidebar on that sun gazing thing. Are you prepared at this time to share with anyone who's listening what the true nature of the sun is, having spent a year looking at it? Did you get any downloads about its true nature?
So I know that it's not just a ball of fire floating through the
space
cosmos.
At 1 billion miles an hour on a direct line to who knows where.
Yeah. Orbiting around a
black hole in the middle of a giant whatever.
It is more like a doorway, you know? And one of the things that I found very interesting was that the sun, the human collective, gold and lions had the same frequency.
The sun, the human collective, gold and lions?
Yes. Had the same frequency.
That's interesting.
So that's another clue to its true nature. Plus, if you think about a consciousness that encompasses everything, all knowledge, that is part of what the sun is also. We might call it enlightenment, right? But we might call it something else, a database or a field of awareness that is truly perceived.
So how do you think that ends up being related to food and eating it?
Well, a lot of people talk about the physical world being an illusion.
Yeah.
And that you can actually mold it to whatever it is that you want to experience. And I know that there's people all over the world who practice different types of methodologies where that allows them not to need food. They don't lose weight. In fact, there's a guy who recorded his whole trajectory of it, and he's a bodybuilder. And he goes against everything in the bodybuilding culture, because in the bodybuilding culture you have to eat protein and like a lot of it, and some carbs and a lot of it to build the muscles and exercise a lot. He just did the exercise part, and I can't remember what method he used for. I think it was breathology. I can't remember. Breatharian. That's it. Sorry. And yeah, he reported it, and he was genuine and all the things. So there's those examples. There's other people. There was one guy who was a little bit disturbing. He did not eat and he didn't drink water either. But I don't know what age he was. He was not young, but he looked like desiccated, you know? almost. Like he looked like a mummy, completely dry. And Yamiki was able to speak, but I don't think he quite figured out the no water part. And it's not that these people don't eat. Some people will not need to eat, but every now and then they will eat, especially flavors that they like. It doesn't mean they don't ever eat. It means that they don't have to. And of course, there's a lot of stories that of con men and women that are lying about it, right? They do actually eat every day, quite a lot of food. But from the genuine aspect of it, I know that there is because I had that choice and I knew I could have carried it out.
Right. I mean, not the question specifically though was what do they get from the sun that obviates the need for food? And if I understood it correctly, what you said was that it the time spent sun gazing reprograms the nature of reality that we assume it is this, and then it is actually something else. And through that activity, going in with that intention, basically, right? Nobody really goes sun gazing without knowing the food thing attached to it.
Oh, I didn't know it.
You didn't know that if
No.
you the purpose of sun gazing was to stop eating?
No.
What did you think the reason that they were sun gazing and not eating for?
Oh, I didn't know about the not eating part. When I got that information that I didn't need to eat, I went back on the internet and started researching sun gazing and not eating. And that's when I found out there's a lot of people that use sun gazing to stop eating. But I didn't know it was related before that. It was complete.
So it's a side effect of sun gazing? You just
Yeah.
don't want to eat no more?
No, it's not that you don't want to eat. It's that you know you don't have to. You don't have to eat anymore. You can still want it and you can still eat, but you don't have to.
So what is it that you get from the sun that replaces the want to eat?
I think it's like when you realize the true nature of reality, you can figure out that eating is also illusionary and you don't need it.
Do you think the breatharian thing is, how do the breatharians do it if they don't do the sun?
I don't know. What I looked at it is like they breathe in a certain method that brings in prana into their body directly. Something like that is what I've heard, but I haven't really studied it very much.
So it could be then that there's little tiny mouths in your eyes when you're looking at the sun that get little bits of life energy and that satiates you.
So I've heard say that our physical bodies can't manufacture anything that the body needs. And I think perhaps if we follow that line of thought, like the little mouth in your eyes, you could say that the sun is a source of energy, and that's all you need, a source of energy for your body to be able to manufacture everything that it needs.
Right. It's like some people do the keto diet, right? And their body goes into ketosis. If they change their diet by just eating this and not eating that, then their body adapts entirely its fuel source from one thing to
Fuel
another.
source, yes. Fuel source, there you go.
So the process of sun gazing or
It's the fuel source.
breatharian,
It's the fuel source.
they're
That's
altering the
different.
fuel source that
Yes.
powers the body. Like, basically, if you were to measure our body and say how much of you is plant and how much of you is not plant, we would find out there's a lot of plant in you,
Yes.
which plants are known for using sun
They are known for
to
using
create
sun.
energy, right?
Yes,
Little
yes.
packets.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's almost it feels a little bit like changing your diet.
Yeah.
And you don't know that, but you can eat through your eyes and eat through your mouth with air. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, have you ever noticed? I don't think the breatharians are being completely legitimate
Really?
because I don't know if you've seen what's in the air. It's full of stuff. Little baby plants, little bugs.
They're eating bugs.
They're eating, just not very much. It's true, right?
True.
Okay. Fish don't know they're breathing water, right? They're just
All
breathing.
Right.
Okay, well, that was a sidebar, but I really wanted to know the true nature of the sun.
Mm.
Not so much concerned with the food part of it,
Yeah.
mostly concerned about when we look at the sun, we've been told a story which seems to bear out by all of the data that we can receive at a visual level or radio telescope level,
Yeah.
at a telescope level. Like Crow 777 guy has been taking photos with his telescope. He did the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now he switched to doing the sun. And when you look at the pictures of the sun, I mean, it does look like kind of like a ball of fire with squirting fire sticking out. I mean,
Yes.
that's what we're told it is, a nuclear fusion reaction, converting hydrogen and whatever into whatever. It generates a huge amount of solar radiation, heat, etc. I mean, our physical measuring devices, the devices we use to measure the physical reality, the one that we are incarnated into, tells us the sun is that kind of a thing. But its true nature isn't that.
Mm-hmm.
So, from the we perspective, what is the sun?
You want
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the we perspective?
See,
What is the sun?
Yeah.
I don't think we should bring the we in for this.
Okay, I didn't know if we were going to get it or not, but I thought I would ask.
Yeah, that doesn't go well for us. Remember?
I do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what we'll sidestep into is the fact that many or most people are completely unaware that you are the we.
So growing up until my probably year 40, 41, maybe 45, I was mostly the we and very little Inelia Benz or Inelia Omar Avila at the time, right? Very little of the personality, the singularity, and very much the collective personality. But yeah, mostly people did not notice. Occasionally there will be one or two people like who were sensitives who would see it and speak it directly to the we.
Yeah, what kind of things do they say or do?
Well, one of them that I giggled was at an event, and she looked at me and she said, "You're a we consciousness," and she actually used the words, "You're a we consciousness," and I went, "Shh, yes." So, and I remember another lady who was a sensitive who used to like to read palms. We learned to read palms. And it was hilarious because it was one of my aunties who taught her how to read palms. He was one of my auntie's students. And when she went to read my palm, her eyes nearly popped out of her face, and she started talking about this consciousness that she could feel and sense and see in the hands. And then she grabbed my hands and pulled it over to my auntie. See, look. Right? Apparently there's signs. And my auntie just scrunched her face and says, fine, let's stop this. And, told her to leave. And then she says, don't listen to anything she says. She's mentally unstable. So that would be a typical reaction of...
those who become aware.
Yes.
All of it.
Yeah.
Did anyone who became aware or was aware of the we part start to ask you questions or engage in a way that, I mean, most people when they say, "Oh, if I could meet the we, I would like XYZ," to ask them a bunch of questions and get to know about the true nature of this or understand what's we is about, or really engage at a inquisitive level. But it seems to my experience has been, and we joke about it being bananas, but it hasn't been what I would expect. Has that been your experience?
I find that whether from the we perspective or the Inelia perspective, most people who come to me with inquiries are about their life.
It's about themselves.
It's about themselves.
Can you tell me how many incarnations I had?
Yes.
What was my first one? What was the second one? It was like coming to you for a reading, basically,
yes.
right?
Come to a reading, or can you tell me how to heal my bad back, or can you tell me what do I need to do to find a wife? Can you tell me what I can do for my work? I want to change careers, and should I move house? So it's not that interesting.
It's also kind of funny because how would they be expert at any of that?
None of it.
Because I mean, they don't even care.
No.
I mean, they care, but not
Yes.
very much.
Mhm.
Okay, they don't care.
Yeah. Mostly they would answer, change your mind.
Change your mind, do something different.
Yes. Change your mind. Because the mind is taking you this location. So change your mind and you'll go the other one. Yeah,
Okay.
the other way.
All right. Well, you say with some, and some who become aware find that your experiences are similar in some way and trigger memory, a memory of their own entry to Earth.
Yes.
So when you say entry to Earth, I mean, that reminds me of a book called Planet of Entry, which hasn't quite been released, I don't think.
It hasn't been released yet. It's a novel that I already finished. It hasn't been released yet.
But when we think about entering the Earth or a planet of entry, what do you mean by that? Because, I mean, when I think about incarnating, it's just like there was basically, if you're going to be in a body it's a human body on Earth. There, you don't really have a lot of choice around. It's like there's other places, I guess. So when you say entering Earth,
Mhm.
can you explain what it's meant by that? I mean, what is Earth? What are you entering?
A shared co-creative reality.
A shared co-created reality.
Yeah.
That's what Earth is. But I thought Earth was a consciousness of its own too. Is
Yeah.
Earth Gaia?
Gaia. Earth is part of Gaia. Yes. It's a co-created reality. That means also you need. It's not just humans. You have what you might call a planet. You have what you might call forests. What you might call dogs or flowers. Those are all consciousness too, or crystals. It's a co-created reality. I'm not talking just about humans.
Okay.
Co-creating a reality.
Co-created reality called Earth, which includes Gaia, a consciousness that's planetary in nature.
Yeah.
So when you're entering Earth, you're entering from clearly somewhere not Earth.
Exactly.
Where's the not? What is the not Earth?
It's a different shared reality, right?
Oh my God! It's turtles all the way up.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. Do you remember your vision of looking through cabbages?
Yeah.
Earth is just one of those cabbages. Because you didn't know about it. You thought you were coming from somewhere else. But you just came out of one of the cabbages and you can see other cabbages.
Yeah. The structure that holds all the cabbages is a place.
Yeah.
It's an ice skating rink.
There you go. You got it.
Just saying. If you want to get from
Imagine
reality to reality, put on a pair of skates
Yeah.
and skate to another cabbage. As simple as
There
that.
you go. Uh-huh.
If you need any more instruction, let me know. DM me or something.
Yes.
So how would we describe that ice rink with cabbages?
A nebulous existence of points of awareness, which contained groups of beings creating their own bubbles of reality.
What do you think the structure that contains those realities would be?
A consciousness.
A consciousness? As a singular consciousness?
Yeah.
A singular consciousness has all the other realities within it?
Yeah.
Does that, I guess, universal consciousness have a name?
Larry.
Are you saying I'm making everything up?
Yes.
It's not true.
Or John or Mary or Peter or Pan. It doesn't matter, right? Penelope. It's difficult for a person to conceive of them being their personality or awareness or consciousness or identity to be anything beyond what's in their body and their life around them. It's very difficult for that to conceive that, but that's what it is.
I can't conceive of it.
Okay.
Apparently, it's difficult to raise a not wee baby too. So I can't
Yes.
conceive of reality as it is. I would prefer my illusion of it. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. That's a lot to do with it. It has a lot to do with it.
Alrighty, all right. Concentrating on humans for a minute.
Okay, let's
'cause
go
we
back to
have some.
humans.
Humans have life before and after they became humans.
They do.
Can you
Yes.
please explain that?
Well,
What was the life before humans?
the life before a person incarnates?
I don't know. In the article I read, the life of humans after they became humans became something. So what were they before they became humans?
Before, well, I have to first of all define what I mean by human. A human is a physical body elemental, a humanoid in shape, which contains and lives with and is animated by a soul. So it's two beings together living a life
That's a
by
human.
their own will. Yeah.
But there was a time where
they were separate.
they were separate and they
Yes.
didn't even connect.
No.
And so before they were humans, what were they? Two different independent beings living their whatever
Yes.
life?
Yeah.
So the two beings that you have to pick from are human body elemental,
Yes.
which probably didn't even exist, right?
No.
Because it had to be modified to accept a soul. So what was it before it was that?
There was plenty of life on this physical universe. It didn't look humanoid though. The humanoid form is actually the soul form of the original architects that came in and wanted to have an experience here.
Okay. What do you think the Sasquatches are?
They're part of the humanoid shapes that were generated as a physicality experience, physical bodies that could then be altered to accept a human soul.
Okay. That makes sense. That's the human body elemental side.
Yes.
It's been modified and then modified and then modified upon modification.
Yes.
And then adjusted and then adapted and then probably reseeded and multiple things over many times that you can comprehend and access the memories, but they're almost like you must be a crazy person talking like that. That kind of a thing.
I don't know. I've never thought of myself as a crazy person, but you could, I guess, define me that way. It's fine.
I was speaking about the general we, not the specific we. Like generally, people who are like looking at their past lives or their past incarnations, they'll find all of these things that become so many things that we're like, that can't possibly be true, right?
Possibly. I have never met anybody who says that about their previous lifetimes, but I guess there could be somebody that says that. This couldn't possibly be true. Have you had any experiences going back in your incarnations to something that it couldn't possibly be true?
Well, what I mean is that it isn't a, it's outside the normally accepted limitations that we've imposed on our incarnation.
Yeah.
How's that for words?
Yeah, that's
How's
better.
that for a word salad?
It's perfectly clear to me, but okay.
Did everybody else get it?
Maybe repeat it.
No, I can't.
Okay.
But it made a lot of sense at the time.
Okay.
So human body elementals, before they were modified, do we have a memory of our existences before modifying these bodies? We have memories of bodies that aren't even here. We have memories of bodies that don't even look like a human.
Mm-hmm.
Who's remembering those bodies?
Your physical body elemental, probably. I can't imagine that your soul would. Unless it was your soul incarnating with other shapes before.
Or your soul looking at the incarnations of the body before,
maybe.
and then remembering what it looked at.
Yeah,
I mean, we can think of
you can
paths.
do that. Definitely can do that. Yeah.
Right. So when somebody thinks they like remember an incarnation as mud, or dirt, or a rock, or a dust on the foot of an astronaut, isn't that something that we did?
Sand on the foot of a human.
Yeah, one of those things. Yes. Okay. So that is commonly accepted within the limitations imposed on our present incarnation. That's crazy talk.
Okay, got it. Understood.
Okay? Yeah, you're crazy. You might thinking you were a piece of sand on somebody's foot 10 million years ago.
Okay, got it.
Didn't happen. But it did.
Okay. This
does talk to something. One of them is self-imposed limitations. Who's the self and how solid are these limitations?
They're as well as you feel they are. It's like one of the limitations is we're sitting down on 2 chairs right now and we're not floating up into the ceiling. That's a
Good
limitation.
thing. Look what's up there.
Yes, it's
Fire
fan
and
and
a
fan.
fan. That's going to chop us up
So-
and cook us.
So, so that's a good limitation, right?
It's handy, yeah.
Yes.
And self is who's self? Who's making these self-imposed limitations? Who's the self?
You have to understand also that as you came into this co-created reality, it's co-created, not just you creating it moment to moment. And a co-created reality, there's rules of engagement. Certain things like you're not going to float into the ceiling. You're going to breathe air, right?
One of the things the wee baby did grow up to write was something called the rules of engagement, and also a part 2, rules of engagement in the new paradigm, right?
Yes.
I highly suggest you get that.
Yes.
Not you.
Not me.
You.
You. Listening to this. Indeed.
Alrighty then. Lives of souls.
Lives of souls?
Yeah, this is the last thing we're going to touch on because we've used up our hour.
Mm-hmm.
Like we care.
We don't care.
Hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, 10 million hours.
Okay. Lives
Lives
of
of
souls.
humans before they became humans. Humans are human body elementals, and
Soul.
humans are these souls.
Yes.
Most people I meet in our circles identify mostly as souls.
Yes.
Most people I don't usually hang out too much with, but occasionally had in the past, in my other lifetime, they most definitely associated mostly with their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big
Yes.
difference in their center
Yes.
of life, right?
Indeed.
Yeah. So can you speak to that? How and what takes the most influence and what's the consequence? The soul or the human body? And then we'll talk about souls after a bit.
Well, the soul and the human bodies have a very special relationship within each person. And it's that combo that decides who's going to be driving that life. Each person decides, is it the soul or the body who's going to drive this life?
Well, before you go past that, because you just said each person decides whether it's going to be one or the other,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one or the other making the choice. Is there a third thing that I'm not aware of?
Yeah, the in-between lives, like you mentioned before.
No, a third being deciding a soul or a body is in charge.
Them, as in them conjoined decision making.
The co-joined two make the choice.
Yes.
Okay. Because you said when the way you said it could be easily misinterpreted.
Yeah,
That's why I wanted
know.
to make it clear. It's like,
Yeah.
is there another one thing besides the soul and the
No.
body making these ultimate choices? Like
No, not
over
really.
soul or over body, or I've heard these
No,
words
not
before.
really.
Okay. So a soul and a body deciding on an incarnation will leave one or the other as the primary driver for a
Yes.
portion of their life. Maybe it switches later.
Yeah, it could
All the
switch.
things are
It
possible.
could switch, yeah.
Okay. So when someone has their body driving
Mm-hmm.
as the soul or the major drive, what kind of characteristics do you see?
Very survival, more than survival. It's like almost like, when you talk about indulgences and things and sex addicts and food addicts and
Like the things my dogs are really like motivated by.
Yeah,
It's like
motivated
food
by it.
and oh, that dog. See that dog?
Yeah, go shag
Is
that
that
dog.
hate? Yes.
So yeah, reproduction
and sustenance, food,
yeah.
and hot, cold. If
And
it's hot, if
pleasure.
it's cold, if it's
Yeah,
pleasurable.
Yeah.
They don't seem to be too concerned, at least my dogs, or anything with clean,
No,
tidiness,
No.
manipulating of environment.
not really.
The
Not very much.
human body elementals seem to have more concern about their environment,
They do.
because I think as a consequence must be, maybe you can confirm, because of their modifications,
Yes,
because they're not a true natural
human body.
elemental
Roar.
that can exist on this planet without modifying their
No,
environment, right?
no.
It's just parcel
You
of
need
the modification.
clothes, you need shelter, you need beauty, you need all sorts of things for you to survive well.
So
Already there's a different thing going on here.
Okay, but generally speaking, the body as the prime drive, the body elemental as a prime drive, the concerns are with things that make bodies feel good.
Yeah.
Comfortable,
There you go.
cleanliness, sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, clearly that's not the main drive for everyone. Not everyone is running those
souls will
body
have
programs, right? Souls have different set of priorities. Sort of like the Wii for picking a body even.
Yeah. Souls have different priorities, and I would say they're like, when you think about beauty, art, philosophy, all the things, geeks and nerds, and even mathematicians and physicians and people who concern themselves with cooking beautiful gourmet food, and feeding, but not just the body but the soul, and
like higher-minded pursuits, maybe.
Yeah, you might call them higher-minded pursuits, but they're actually soul pursuits.
Right, because there are some people using higher-minded pursuits in pursuit of body-minded pursuits. It's like, how do I get more body-minded sex? I know what. I'll do higher-minded pursuit TV. Whatever. Essentially, though, the life of a soul is as a
driver.
As a driver, the soul as a being itself has different priorities and desires and needs. Like souls don't have sex, do they?
They don't have sexual organs, no.
Organs to have sex and babies. They don't have baby souls.
No.
Right? So they don't mind going for the ride, though.
Well, they wanted to go for the ride.
Yeah, they're quite fine going for the ride for sex, but it's not the prime drive of their life.
No, that's not.
And the food.
Right.
And that kind of relates a little to the Wii's experience with food. It's like food, why? Unnecessary. But human body, the we are it with.
Yes.
It is actually have some
necessary.
necessity, one way or another. It needs it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's sort of like how the souls are becoming more compatible with life in a physical existence, right? Souls have families, though, right? Have you heard soul families before?
So I've explained soul families in the past.
So.
And a soul can come in and out of different families all the time.
Right.
And they can be part of 100, 1,000, 10,000, a million soul families, or just one. Actually, can't be just one. But because as soon as you enter incarnation on this part of the reality called Earth, you're already joined with 7 billion souls that are part of your soul family who are having the same experience. And within that, you can have like a few friends who you call your soul family, or maybe,
So we can use the word soul family to mean things, right? And when you think of the word soul family, you think maybe differently.
Yeah.
Mostly the ones that I've experienced soul family experiences with, it's been like huge amount of resonance at the time, right? But it isn't a permanent.
No, it wasn't permanent.
Even though you would think a soul family would be beyond time and forever. But I guess it doesn't work that way.
No, it depends on whether frequency you are at the time.
Frequency related, huh? Alrighty.
It's resonating frequencies of souls, and then you think you're in a family. But if your frequency changes, then that group is no longer resonant, it's dissonant, and you're no longer attached to them.
So soul family is not really the right word anyway, then?
Not really.
So we can...
resonant soul groupings.
Resonant groupings. Okay. That really rolls over the tongue. We'll just leave it soul families.
Okay.
And we'll just define soul families as, not as like everlasting thing. It can be
temporary soul resonant gatherings. Groups.
All right. Well, that kind of leans you in towards the and it's a visual that I've had before too. Before you have a soul incarnating into or with a body, souls have an existence and a complete and fulfilled and full existence. And sometimes I've heard it described as lights, and sometimes I've heard it described as tones or entire cabbages, or I mean, I've heard a lot of different ways that it's described. The one that I resonate or means the most to me is like a color of light. That one seems closest to identification, how to identify it in English, For me, in one of our exercises with a group, we asked, what is your soul, right? And it came out with all kinds of answers.
Yes, the true nature of your soul.
All kinds of answers.
Yes.
I would be curious to see what kind of answers we might get from our audience.
That'd be cool. And we can go and answer that.
I think the likeliest, easiest spot would be at the blog.wetalks.org, right?
.com.
Or .com.
Yes.
Down at the bottom, there's a comment section. You can comment about what does your soul look like, right?
Truly, correctly perceived.
What is the if you correctly perceive your soul,
what does it look like?
What does it look like?
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear the answers. And, honestly, when I heard the answers, some of them I said, oh, wait a minute, no, that's their body. Another was like, oh, that's what their soul looks like.
Well, we actually did body and then we did soul. So.
Right, it doesn't, I know, but it felt to me like some of them mixed it up anyway.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not the complete arbiter of what's the correct answer. But I'll tell you, in case you're wondering. But I would like to know from you, how if you were to correctly perceive my soul.
Your soul?
Yeah, sure.
Larry's soul?
What would it look like?
I thought you meant their soul.
The we soul?
No, you're there. The people
the
who are
other
listening.
people's soul? Well, that was too many and we weren't specific. I'm sitting here.
Okay.
And I said what I would perceive it as, the best language I could use was a blue light. Yeah. Which, has its limitations, clearly.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
so you want people to comment on what do they correctly perceive Larry's soul?
No, they perceive of their own soul.
That's what I was asking.
I was curious. No, you didn't listen.
Okay.
I was just curious if you had a perception of what my soul would look like.
Oh,
and everyone else can say what they see their own soul is. I don't want everybody peeking at my soul.
Okay.
Come on now.
So you're going to answer what you perceive your own soul
true nature
be. Yeah. Okay.
And when I answer that question, I come up with something that resembles a sparkly, twinkly blue light. That would be that would be what it looked like.
Yes. Okay. Got it.
Now, how about you? What do you see?
When I see your soul?
See.
Do you want me to look into your soul, honey?
Okay.
Can you stand it? He's trying to
I
look
have
away.
practice.
He's trying to look away.
I know, but I have a lot of practice.
You're making your eyes really dingy.
That's because I can't see very good.
Okay. Your soul correctly perceived. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. What are you feeling right now?
Curious.
Very curious. It's more like a universe.
With blue twinkles?
Yeah, has little twinkles in it.
Okay. I'll be fine with that.
Right.
And that's kind of what I was feeling too. When you have your soul looked at by the we, you kind of get the answer too.
You want the we to look at your soul? That's me too.
There isn't any separation between you and they.
Well, there's a perceptual limitation between the two.
Oh.
And a translation issue from the other place.
Okay, well. No, I don't really want the we to look.
Okay. You're done?
We're done with looking.
Okay.
I don't want everyone here looking or you, the we looking. Okay. You can look just fine.
Okay.
Honey, you look just fine.
All right.
Last bits. Okay, we have found that souls are this, amorphous, diffuse, multiple different answer things. In some ways, we can say your soul is the universe. That universe incarnated with a human body elemental, which had plenty of incarnations, it seems, all over in all different ways. And the ones that we're having right now are with a body that's been modified by, I don't know who or what. We don't really get into that, but let's just say somebody who, I guess we call the original architect.
Mm-hmm.
Those somebodies, which if you go back into your memory, you might find you are one,
Mm-hmm.
modified some bodies that existed or were parts of the bodies that existed to bring them here to have these experiences here.
Mm-hmm.
After that, and we're going in it and we're doing it, we have a whole bunch of self-imposed limitations on how we experience this to put it in this little bubble of experience that I would call a cabbage,
Mm-hmm.
and you would call
Holes in the ground.
holes in the ground. Cabbage is in a hole in the ground on an ice skating rink, and you would call it in a
Field.
field of matrix
Nothingness.
Right. In that place, that cabbage entered in, which we call entered into earth. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people have described in a lot of different ways that don't exactly ding, like the bell goes ding
Yeah.
when you have it right, but it kind of goes bong when you got it. Like that feels like a description of an experience on earth, not why, not the. So, for example, I'm incarnated on this planet because it's prison.
No, it's not a prison unless you make it so.
But you have the ability to generate the prison planet experience here if you wanted to.
Yeah, but you have to work at it.
You have to work at it. These are those self-imposed limitations that you're placing there, right?
Yes.
It in truth isn't.
No.
But you could have prison planet experience here if you wanted to.
I wanted to. Absolutely.
That's my point. It's like at the true nature of it isn't a prison planet.
Correct.
But that doesn't limit you from having that experience.
Correct.
But it isn't the true nature.
No.
Okay. So it's not prison planet. Boom.
Okay.
But you can ding it if you really want to.
Yeah.
How about it's a school to evolve our soul.
Impossible.
Bong.
You cannot evolve yourself.
What?
Your soul can have experiences.
Oh, can it have an experience of evolution?
Sure.
Oh.
But you cannot evolve your soul.
But it doesn't need to be evolved. No, but it can pretend it does.
Yeah, you could pretend it. Yes.
So that's a bong that turns into a ding, but only at the level of a self-imposed limitation that somehow your divine eternal soul, which by definition would never
cannot evolve
and cannot need an evolution because evolution requires time, and time requires a time before and then a time after, and there is no time component of soul that is
right. So
before after.
Have you ever seen one of these? And if you're an artist, you have experienced it yourself, but for the rest of the individuals who are not artists, have you ever seen like a speed up image or video or movie of an artist painting a picture? They come in with a blank canvas, and then they get colors, and they go, right? And eventually, what do you see?
You see the full image. Like Akian Gallery is a really good one to go check. She has some images on YouTube where she's like, start the picture, and at the end, the picture that she writes, makes, draws, paints, whatever, it blows you away, right? And it goes from nothing to the whole thing. Akian Gallery, Akiane. Yeah, go check it out.
Did that painting need painting?
No.
No, it did not need painting.
I mean,
did it exist before it was painted?
No.
Did it exist after it was painted?
Yes.
Okay. So that's your life as an incarnated soul. You don't need to do it. It's not there before you did it, but after you did it, it's there.
So it's not a school of evolution.
No.
Although you can have evolution experiences.
Right.
It's not a prison, although you can have prison experiences.
Yes.
It's not all of the above, although you can have all of the above experiences.
Right.
Within the self-imposed limitations. And when those self-imposed limitations are up for changing
Mm-hmm.
at a collective level,
Mm-hmm.
that we call a split.
Well, you can call it all sorts of things. Evolution of the planet. You can call it a split.
You
They're
can call
different
it
things.
raising the. You can call
Different
it
things.
shifting dimensions.
Yes, you can call it shifting dimensions. A collective swap of reality requires time. It's like a big ship because it has a lot of co-creators. And each one has their own ideas about how they want to experience it. And all of them have to be taken into consideration. So,
Not
yes.
all of the people, but all of them.
All of them.
All of the
Yes.
people and the plants.
And the plants and the animals.
What about the
and
rocks?
Crystals, yes.
Oh my God, the lakes,
Yes,
waters,
the
the
water,
oceans,
yes, yeah.
everything.
Everything.
Wow, that's a lot of agreements to take into consideration.
Yes.
Okay, well, I agree. My mind's officially, expanded.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Thank you for the excellent conversation.
Yeah, it's really good.
Hope we didn't, throw any hand grenades on too many treasured beliefs, because in a sense, we are belief grenades.
In a way, yeah. A lot of the time.
Okay, love you, honey.
Love you, darling.